Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hyreo RISE Podcast, the platform to meet dynamic talent leaders, industry veterans in HR and talent acquisition who can give us insights on how to navigate the highly dynamic talent landscape of today. So, on our first episode, we're very pleased to welcome Jayan. Jayan is the head of global human resources at IBS Software. He has been with the company since its inception in '97. He started as a programmer and he has played multiple roles in technology, product development, business development, and corporate matters. His key focus continues to be continuous capability development of the organization. And today we have him on our podcast talking to us about how IBS leverages strategic learning and development to drive higher business and people outcomes. So over to you, Jen. So today, with the fast evolving work landscape, right, the highly competitive talent landscape, yet the acute skill shortage, the rise of hybrid work modes, and the rocketing talent expectations, right? Along with the increasing pressure to control costs, right? What do you believe, in that backdrop, what do you think are the top priorities for you as the CPO for the year ahead?
Thank you, Chitra, for that introduction. So, if you really look at where we are today, IBS, we are at an exciting state of business. The industry of our focus, the travel, transportation, logistics, is in a fast growth state, resulting in them starting a lot of transformation initiatives. This means that we need to scale faster than how we used to do in the past. For us, the scaling is not just increasing the headcount. It is about how we complete the activities that will enable the customers do their transformation faster. This all boils down to how do we make our employees better. This means we need to empower our talent to be more productive, more autonomous, and need to make our employees integrate faster. At the same time, we need to enable employees craft their career journeys by being able to do learning on demand and taking on higher value roles faster.
Got it. So as we talk about, driving higher value from the roles that we play, right? From enabling our people to take on those roles. And as organizations are looking at skills first hiring as probably the best mechanism to move people into those roles, right? How would you best describe the learning culture at IBS?
For us, Chitra, the learning is key. The fundamental difference is what I mentioned earlier, to scale different. And this is all about upskilling and cross-skilling. We had this in our culture right from the early days, but in the current scenario, we need to take it to the next level by strengthening the culture of continuous learning, self-drive for learning, linking learning outcomes to business outcomes, and linking learning outcomes to personal category. That's a change, or that's a transformation that we are looking to now.
Got it. And again, understanding that upskilling and cross-skilling are very important in this current work landscape, right? Knowing that they are key retention levers, how important is upskilling specifically for IBS?
And for that, the key is to understand the definition of a successful IBS. It is not just the knowledge of technology, or it's not just the knowledge of domain that matters. It's about how each one of us help our customers redefine their business. For this, our employees need to be multi-talented. They should be strong in technology, should be strong in the business domain, and they should be strong in being consultative to guide the customers on their transformation. So as you can see, the skill requirement is multidimensional. And for that, naturally, upskilling and cross-skilling is very integral to our learning plans.
Got it. And talking about the unique, requirement of IBS, both the internal product knowledge as well as the external tech knowledge, and combining that, how do you set about creating that continuous learning environment, and what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Okay. First and foremost, we were in a good position to start because the attitude to learning was positive in the organization right from our early days. The challenge for us was how do we create an environment for easy learning when the employees had to learn while being busy transforming the business. For that, there were a number of problems that we had to address. One is the individual style of learning. People have different styles of learning. Some would like to have more hand-holding. Some would like to pace it themselves. Second was in providing the right content. For some areas, there were too many contents available. People don't know how to choose, or people don't know how to narrow down the contents. And for some areas, especially specific to our product, not much content was available.
Got it.
The third and very important one is how do we keep us motivated?
Yeah.
And in that, I meant that how do we give a sense of progress for employees on learning? And how do we give a sense of progress for the company as a whole as to how things are improving? So if we summarize all these, the key point was that how do we have an ecosystem that meets all the needs, and thus cover more people and ensure that learning is continuous?
Got it. And how did you go about resolving those challenges faced? What were some of the first steps that you took? And do you believe technology was an enabler? Did you make that a part of the solution?
Absolutely, absolutely. Technology was very integral there. The first and the foremost thing what we did was to diversify what we offer. And for that, we introduced an AI-powered learning experience platform, which helps us to unify internal and external contents and platforms.
Okay.
For those who needed directions, we started giving them direction by creating pathways. Using the pathways, we narrowed down the content for people so that they could narrow down from the wide variety of contents that is available. But for those who were ready to explore, we left them alone so that they explored themselves further. For areas where contents were very idea specific, this is where our business pitched in very, very big. They pitched in to create the contents. They had the champions to make this institutionalized in their areas.
Okay.
And then the other thing was to make employees comfortable with the platform. We ran many programs in the platform, not just related to the training alone, including running many of the induction sessions in the platform, which made people familiar with the platform right from the beginning.
Got
So this
it.
is a way in which we started kind of doing that change in the organization.
Got it. And bringing everybody onto the platform, making sure that they're going through that rigor of learning, right? And introducing technology as part of the solution. How did you go about measuring how effective it was, the success and the impact of that particular unified single platform for learning?
All right. Okay, this is where, Chitra, I don't think we are reached there yet in terms of where we ideally wanted to reach. But I think we made quite a lot of progress in there. To enable people to measure their progress, we created a lot of certification programs. And we left them to people to choose the certification programs and certify themselves. The important thing that we did was that we did not use this for any of the HR processes. Like we didn't say that, okay, you will get promoted only if you get these certifications and all. Right. But we created the feeling that certifications are for themselves to self-assess themselves and see how they are learning. And for those employees who were not satisfied with internal certifications, who said that, again, I want to explore further more, we created an environment where they could use external certifications to validate their learning. So this way, we created a lot of measurement opportunities for employees to see, like, did I learn by going through these materials, by doing self-certifications, and without having to tell anybody that I'm going to do these certifications.
Got it.
At the organization level, we started measuring the adoption and put focus efforts to cover more employees there. We've been able to measure many of these lead measures. Today, more than 90% of employees have created their logins in our platform. More than 65% of employees are very active users. We have more than 100,000 courses completed by the employees. We have more than 1,500 contents that are created and shared by the employees. And more important, this is being talked about in the organization. People talk to each other about learning. People talk to each other about how they measure themselves and all. So the culture of measurement is now started in and is getting slowly ingrained in the organization.
Got it. And you bring up a very interesting point. Without, you brought in measures, you have your employees, talk about numbers, but they're not necessarily, weighing, putting pressure on them, because these are not really used for any people decisions like promotions or etc. But you are slowly ingraining or inculcating that culture of continuous learning. So with that, right, with the because you're talking about measures, I'm curious as to whether the new learning strategy helped you influence business outcomes, right? You spoke about numbers of how people are adopting fast and they're talking about it. And so more and more people are going to join in on this. So have you been able to influence the business outcomes favorably? And are you able, do you use any KPIs to track or evaluate that?
Okay. And this is where I said earlier, this is the journey still there. I think what we have done well is now measure the lead measures very well.
Got it.
And this is really, and this is actually not very straightforward. And this is a little tough to actually measure the exact business results. And typically, I do not believe that learning as such can operate as a very independent thing and then expect us to have the business results. So we combined it along with a very big program that we ran in the organization, which is actually spearheaded by our CTO, which is called a full potential plan, FPP. FPP looks at how do we improve the business outcomes and through multiple ways. It could be, when I say business outcomes, it could be like, how do we improve our revenue per employee? How do we improve our implementation cycles faster? That means if you take today 9 months to implement a customer, how can we make it to 6 months? Or how can we go to market faster? When we identify a product idea, how quickly can we go into the market? These are the real business results for which we need to start moving. And FPP looks at it from multiple perspectives. It looks at from a process perspective. It looks at from a tool perspective. And very importantly, it looks at from a people capability development perspective. So as you can see here, learning is one of the factors that contribute to them, while a lot of other factors also contribute. We are now measuring, seeing improvements in all these areas, but we are not really trying to pinpoint to say that does it happen because of people development, or does it happen because of the process improvement, or did it happen because we introduced this particular tool in there? That's a work in progress, what we're doing there. So we are really seeing improvements in many of these business parameters, but exactly like what percentage of it can be attributed to learning, I feel it's still a kind of a learning process for us, which we will reach there in a few quarters.
Got it. And it's interesting. The full potential plan does sound like a holistic plan. It's like a foolproof plan. So that's very interesting. And I absolutely agree with your view that you have to look at it from the business perspective. It can't be taken individually. Agreed. And you're talking about people and you're talking about people talking to others, right? Recommending this learning platform and talking about the benefits of it, obviously. Did you look at it as an organization, right? Did you introduce any creative means of enhancing that skilling by any social learning or those kind of angles?
Yeah, we did that. Actually, we did that reasonably well there. And the thought process came when we were trying to see, how do we address the learning needs of different types of people? Like the way in which a techie learns will be very different from the way in which a tester learns, or will be very different from the way in which a business analyst learns. Some of the cases they can do self-learning is much more effective. And again, it depends on, maybe there are a lot of materials available. It depends upon how you learn and all. But there could be certain places where collective learning produces far more results than individual learning. Correct. So we brought in a lot of small talk sessions, lunch and learn approach, where we published TED Talks where somebody used to talk and then people come together and discuss on very specific areas. And then that resulted in people kind of learning or having more interest in that kind of learning. So we just created small tribes. But more importantly, more than creating the tribes, it also brought in people into the learning culture who wouldn't have come in a traditional way. Because they learn by talking, they know about this by talking, and then they get absorbed into the platform.
Got it. And with the people-centric work culture that you have, right? And building the sense of community, I think really helps keep that learning momentum going. How are you able to use this to drive better people outcomes, right? Specifically, I know you've covered it in many of the other questions, but specifically from your perspective, how do you believe you've done that?
Again, like any activity that we do in the organization, it should result in two outcomes. One is business outcome, and the second one, as you rightly use the word, people outcome. Business outcome I mentioned. People outcome is also very important. But it's a little balanced. it is, as I said, if you introduce something to say that if only you do this, it will allow you to grow, I think people will look at it with a suspicion. I think what we really need to do is to ensure that, okay, we bring in the learning culture in, and then we show them how people outcomes can be achieved by them traveling through this learning platform. So what we did is that while we were doing all these learning related things and all, we rolled out a new career framework also into the organization.
Okay.
And in the career framework, so we changed from our traditional way of defining careers, like you grow as a manager only, or such kind of things, to say that your growth is primarily driven by you, and that can be by kind of achieving more and more skills. And then we were able to say to each of the employees that, okay, you can grow by kind of looking at this learning framework, and then personalize your career on the competency framework, and then kind of progress accordingly. So basically, like when an employee say that I want to grow from A to B, we enabled employees to self-rate on the competencies for B. We enabled managers to provide them inputs to give personalized individual development plan for the employees to reach B. And then we said that, okay, did you know how whether you have reached B? You can do that by doing the certification program. So you can declare to the world as well as to yourself, saying that, okay, you have achieved the competencies of reaching B, and thus kind of learn through as well as pace your career in there. So what we're then doing is that there is a career framework through which people can grow, which is clearly the people outcomes, and we link clearly, like what you learn is very clearly linked to this people outcome, and it's for you to actually drive your growth by kind of learning and linking it to the people outcomes.
Got it. And you made it a very, a very holistic, autonomous structure, I think. And I think that's brilliant, because what you're doing is you're laying it out clearly for them, and based on their preferences, right? They probably like to be self-driven. Some of them need to be guided. And you kind of built that thing saying that, hey, if you do this, this is where you're likely to go. You're not saying that only if you do this, will you go there. You're kind of leaving it open to them to define and for them to go down that route, which I think is perfect. And you've done the right mix of the content and the kind of learning, the community, the learning environment. I think you've definitely cracked that. And so with this, and I know how critical it is to talent this year, right? Learning is key this year to be able to staff the key roles to grow, right? To have great customer and business outcomes. Do you believe that your L&D strategy has achieved the objectives that you set on early for it? And how are you leveraging this for the larger IBS community?
Yeah. So again, we're not in a hurry to quantitatively declare that, okay, we are there. So a lot of qualitative things that we have observed and which is keeping us very encouraged. We definitely feel that people feel much more positive about learning today. If you look at our employee satisfaction survey, which we do with the Great Place to Work every year, after we have launched this learning initiatives, we have seen that our ESAT scores on learning and development have increased very significantly across different people demographics, whether it's junior employees, senior employees, whether it's technology people, others, this one and all. We have seen that kind of a significant difference in people's
response to it.
Response to it, as you rightly put. Okay. We have also seen people taking efforts to spread learning through multiple initiatives. I remember I told you earlier that we had 1,500 odd content that are published by people. These are some people, when they find that, okay, there is a typical type of a bug that is happening in a product. Maybe that is because the same people different people are creating the same mistakes. We have seen people kind of using this platform to publish, saying that how to avoid that kind of things in there. And in fact, the real good thing is to the other question that you asked, like, how actively are we using it to the wider IBS community? We found that some of our businesses decided to extend this particular platform to their customers also. So when they saw that how effective it is, because as you know, like ours is product, we need customers also to go through a lot of learning of the product. We have
Correct.
seen that some of these lines of businesses have used this tool to give product training to our customers. And in fact, this idea came from one of the active learners in there. And in
Perfect.
fact, this had got very good feedback from our customers also.
Got it. And that's like testament to the brilliance of this entire, I think, program. It's not just met your objectives; you're able to go beyond it. And as we talk about making strong progress, right? What do you believe are? And we spoke about a few things probably that you just getting to. What do you think are the key objectives that you're trying to achieve to take this to the next level as an
Yeah.
organization?
I think when we look at this stage, the three objectives that we want to get, this is to make what we are doing better, or maybe places where we are doing good, we want to make it better. Where places we have a slow start, we want to make it a little more accelerated progress. So three clear areas: linking career growth to learning more. We have started doing that, but we want to see more employees coming in by learning and then saying that I'm able to grow faster.
Got it.
So an employee should be able to say that I can grow from, say, career level X to maybe 2 levels above because I'm showing my competence. Or an employee who is a business analyst today wants to get converted himself into a techie, or the other way around. Again, use the learning platform more effectively to see the career growth and career diversification happening for the people is clearly the number one objective which we want to achieve. The second thing that we want to progress there is facilitate discussion through the forums a little bit more. The example that I said, the 1,500 cases that we see today, we want to make it tens of thousands in there. Today, when a techie, when he or she faces a problem, the natural instinct is to go to Google or an internet or a particular forum and then find what is the solution which people have published. We want that to be having a much more thing of an internal organization platform also. So when they face a problem, they should look at our internal platform and see whether that problem has been reported anywhere and how to use it, which makes you don't need to repeat the mistakes that somebody else has done in the organization. We want to strengthen that forums and that collective learning much more. And then, of course, I said 65% is active learners today, but we would like to make it closer to 100% as we progress it. So clearly, these are three areas where we want to focus in the coming quarters.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today. As we come to the end, right, I would like you to probably give the audience your top 2 or 3 recommendations on building a robust learning program for themselves, for the organization. It could be a small business or a medium business or an enterprise business, but what are your key thoughts, regardless of the size of the organization? What would be those top 2 to 3 things that you would advise that would help them achieve the same results that you're seeing?
Okay, 2, 3 things. I think one is that you need a lot of patience on this because if you expect this to have change to happen in a quarter, 2 quarters, and all, it's definitely not going to happen. I think the very important thing is that the linkage to the business results will give you more attention from the business leaders
and support.
And really, for that matter, learning should not be the starting point. Learning should be a part of the overall bigger program that you have. Like when we said that our learning is to support the full potential plan. It was really a thing where we were rallying behind a business need.
Correct.
That's a key thing that we found.
Perfect.
Don't rush into linking learning to people outcomes. That's other thing that I said, because it's very, very easy to think that okay, next promotion I'm going to put these things, or next salary revision I'm going to do these things and all. But hold on to that. I think people need time to understand this one. And naturally, when we have a clear linkage to business outcomes and people outcomes, people will come, people will learn, and all of that kind of thing. So linking it to real HR matters need to be at least, in my opinion, several quarters after we have started the journey in there. And then, of course, the other thing that we found is that the business is very supportive on that. I think because they also felt that okay, it's very kind of integral for the kind of
Yes.
scaling that we want. So linking what you want to scale to what we are trying to do in terms of learning would also be very important. So these are the 2-3 things which I would like to tell.
Perfect. And I think you've articulated them very well, like business support, people support, and making sure that you're not in the forefront, you're not starting with it. This is part of the entire process. And that I think is the best way to do it. And it was a pleasure hosting you, Jayan, today to talk about this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chitra. Thank you for this.